That's right. Let's talk call-in radio. Stephen, do the
Radical
honors.
radio, I thought.
Go for it.
Well, this is Let's Talk.
Sorry.
This is Stephen Hurwitz, getting to the root causes of important issues of the day. This on-air community forum believes your voice matters and welcomes all thoughts and views without a judgment. Please join today's conversation by calling 415-663-8492 or tweet us at Let's Talk on KWMR.
Yeah, I just say, don't tweet us.
Don't tweet us. Just call.
I didn't bring the tweet box. In fact, the only time people seem to tweet us is when I don't bring the
tweet box. So thank you for all the people that tweeted today. I really appreciate that. And if you can't get through on 663-8492, there's always 663-8317. So please do give us a call. And what are we talking about today, Stephen Hurwitz? I ask you.
It's really hard to know. This is like an open discussion. We're talking about mid-year
it's a sort of
assessment.
Yes, a mid-year roundup of news and what has affected people, what has affected our listeners. What the future holds, that they think the future holds from what's happening right now. Are they hopeful? Are they optimistic? Are they down? Are they going to give up? Are they going to move somewhere else?
All of the above.
All of the above.
What about?
What about the good news?
Are specific issues, though? I mean, is it like people should call in with local issues they're concerned about?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Or any other issue they're concerned about. See, this is great, isn't it? It's like the catch-all.
Ask Dr. Schultz. I'm here to, as a medical professional, to answer any questions you might have. Just call right in. And
415-663-8492 or 8317. Well, yeah, really, we want to hear about how everyone's feeling and what do people think are the important issues of the day.
It seems like even answering the subject is a revelation of your attitude about life, your general outlook.
Sure.
How you handle this.
Yeah, well,
it's been a tough year.
Really?
Okay.
I'm very tan.
There's the start. It's been a tough year. How has it been tough?
Well, Miss Marin's so economically depressed and filled with violence that it is hard day to day to get along. But,
housing shortages, that's a biggie all through Northern California.
Yes. Well, true. It is difficult to find a place to live out here, and if you do find a place, it can be quite expensive, so that is an issue for sure. But all I was saying is that, basically life is pretty nice out here. Speaking of which...
Yes, it is. We're in the bubble.
What about people who've had surgeries? How was your surgery going?
Turned out well, yeah.
Oh, great.
Kind of foggy in the beginning, but I'm pretty pleased.
You had cataract surgery, huh?
It's funny.
We could have made something up.
It's funny. I took the lens out of this out of my right side of my glasses, and nobody seems to even notice. It's not there.
I thought it was missing when I was looking at you across the room.
It's a difficult joke on radio. I got to admit.
Well, it's been tough for. I promise not to enunciate the whole part of the T word. But it's been a tough year just from the presidency alone. It's like every day there's something new happening.
Well,
isn't there always, though?
There is. The funny thing is, I don't watch TV, but when I do watch TV, it is still a little stunning.
It's shocking, really.
I'm just like, whoa, really?
So what TV do you watch when you're doing that? How do you?
That would be if I was having dinner with Paul Elmore and he would watch the PBS NewsHour before. Perhaps we would watch British.
So you're watching liberal fake news.
It really isn't really liberal. It is, yeah. I mean, I guess it's sort of liberal in some sense.
Okay, I've got a question.
Yes.
Is denial a
river in Egypt?
Is an acceptable form of confronting this?
Denial.
Well, Naomi Klein was on the radio. I guess this was yesterday, saying that no is not enough. No is not
enough. Yeah, well, there you go. What are our listeners doing to ease the pain and to make change? I mean, are they involved in the local, for example, the local resistance movement, or what is it? Indivisible movement.
Standing together.
Oh, boy. Well, 663.
Oh, boy.
It's just people have been resisting reality here for about 45 years.
Well, the big question is, can you...
It is, right.
Well, the big question is, can you resist using love? I mean, that's really what Standing Together are proposing, that love conquers.
But who we engage in conversations with on this? I mean, I do actually encounter the odd Trump supporter in West Marin, and I try and talk to them kind of at length about, that, and it does begin with, look, I understand how Trump was a protest vote for lots of people. People who voted for Trump did because they were saying we want to resist a lot of the impacts of the changes in the economy over the last 40 years that people in West Marin just don't see. So, but I mean, so I run into Trump, the odd Trump person. It's true, and I try and have as long a conversation as I can with them about it. But I'm not entirely sure who we're supposed to be persuading out here.
Well, exactly.
I don't try and persuade.
It's hard to not preach to the choir when you're in this choir bubble. Because for example. Oh, you do have contact with ranchers because you are a rancher.
Yes.
We're hanging around.
Really, how much contact is there between, for example, the local indivisible movement and the ranching families who regard most of us as being interlopers because none of us were born here, were they? Yeah. So the people who
were born here.
Your children were
on
born
a ranch.
Here,
On a ranch.
And that's the mold that's setting in. The outsiders are coming and breeding.
Well, I think I did an interview with Norman Solomon recently. It'll probably run in the paper sometime here in the summer. And I was saying, don't we need to run left Democrats against right Democrats? And people would say, but isn't Jared Huffman a lefty? Not really. And so I would say maybe that would be something they could do, which is to not to shy away from confrontation and not from shy away for, the kind of no is not enough thing, if that's what people are persuaded by, to push for more left-wing politics. And that means getting more left-wing people elected locally. Or, alternatively, you could go to some other play. You want to go to Nebraska? Sure, I say go for it. And I will take care of your house while you're gone.
Charles, what's left today?
What's left?
What is left?
There was a great essay
what does that mean?
Adolph Reed did.
Yeah, what is left?
Well, he said nothing's left. It was his article, and I believe in Harper's during the first Obama administration, and it raised a lot of people's hackles because they thought that the correct symbol meant that the world was fine and we were left. What I would say is it would be a kind of a commitment to being opposed to all these foreign wars, to all the depredations of the American empire that we inflict on other people, and they think, well, where do these immigrants come from? Why do they hate us? It's like, oh, really? And that would just be one aspect of it. I think it also is trying to look at some kind of question of living in a more equal society, and that's a tough question. It means, how do we change our economy? I say you do it through local government, and you do it by looking at the resources we all need to survive and figuring out how we can decentralize their production, democratize their control. And that would be my kind of utopian vision.
Yeah, well, there you are. So,
devolution.
And speaking of left and right, and left within the party and right within the centrist and all that, look at the UK. Here's part of the news that we're all rejoicing here. Well, are we rejoicing? I don't know. I think it's a step in the right direction that there's actually a socialist in the Labour Party that's actually in charge of the Labour Party. Who'd have thought that would ever happen again? And it's giving some hope to my ex-countrymen, I have to say. The people I know, anyway. The rest of them are all saying,
the day after.
He's an anti-Semite. Oh, yeah, there was a thing in the Atlantic, a whole thing about how anti-Semitic he is because he says that Israel maybe shouldn't be bombing Palestine and taking the land away.
Yeah, that's classic. Way to go, Atlantic.
He's obviously an anti-Semite.
I can imagine the unacceptable face of capitalism, who will not be mentioned by name, is not pleased about this. One of our West Marin British neighbors. But
yes.
I talked to the Leo Panich about this the day after the election. KWMR very kindly put him on.
Great interview.
And Janet Robbins has still not answered the question, did she in fact have a fling with Dennis Skinner back in the 70s? Janet, call 663-8492. But it was just that he said, okay, so you could have a more left-wing government at a national level in the United Kingdom, and that may be something that happens in the near future. But he said that actually this kind of activity around politics is something that needs to start happening more and more at the local level. So when I say, hey, we need to pass a sales tax to gouge tourists, more so than the businesses themselves, that is, and and then use this new little pot of money that we have to tackle some of the issues that we face. And maybe one of those is affordable housing.
But sales taxes are regressive. The Republicans are happy to add sales tax on top. They think that's the solution.
Well, I would say
it's so regressive.
They are regressive, but in a place like West Marin, really, I mean, most of the people that aren't wealthy here do most of their shopping over the hill. But the other thing you could do with it is simply rebate the value of the tax to people who are locals. I don't know, produce your driver's license, and there's a little button on the screen, and they press it, and you don't pay the tax.
Yes, why not?
We have a caller.
I was just thinking about that the other day. We thought about it for a long time with a local supermarket, and that would be a wonderful thing. Hi, caller. You are on the air. What's your name, please?
Hi, this is Martine. I just tuned in. I want to be sure I'm on topic. Can you just remind me your topic? I think I know, but
the topic is really pretty amorphous. It's it's about how new the latest events, or how the news is affecting people's lives, how optimistic they are, what are they doing to remain optimistic or to change what they might see as something going wrong. It's
okay, great.
How are the events affecting you?
I can fit in. So two things. One, going to West Marin Standing Together meetings.
Yep.
Really inspiring. Getting in on the committees and doing actual work. And the other thing is, just recently I got my new copy of Communities magazine, Life in Cooperative Culture, summer 2017. And the topic is economics in cooperative culture, and it's so inspiring. I mean, if people don't know about this magazine, you pick it up and you can feel the energy of the new culture arising. Some of the articles are called Towards a Joyful Economics, Community as Economic Engine, Servant Leadership in Cooperative Business, Mobile Home Parks as a Path to Co-Housing, and Participatory Budgeting and the Income Sharing Community. And there's a wonderful article by somebody who was at Standing Rock who writes about the gifting economy at Standing Rock. So I'm holding it in my hand going, thank you. This is so spread.
Can you give us an example of economics in a community, in a conscious community, consciously formed community, or whatever?
Well, Twin Oaks in, let's see, where are they? In Virginia. They're an income sharing community. They're into their fourth generation now. And they have businesses, so they've been doing this for a long time. They have 90 adult members, over a dozen children, and they're in Virginia. And they make all the money they make. They share. They divide it up. They have a committee that works on how to spend the income, and then the whole community has a way of putting their voice in.
Interesting. So are they? And some of them are working outside the community, and others are doing work. Selling
within the community,
products?
They have some businesses that they run.
So they're near a town, or they are...
I don't know how close they are to town. I'm not sure about that. But they're very successful in that people have been living there for a long time, raising their kids. I met a couple of girls from there many years ago who were taking a sabbatical, and the community gave them a paid leave so they could afford to travel, and they were at a rainbow gathering, and they were having a great time traveling around, and they were going to go back home to their community because they loved it.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful, so it's
encouraging.
That's an encouraging story, right there.
There's many. If you look at the Guide to Intentional Communities, which is a big, thick book, and hundreds of communities, intentional communities, all over the world, and they have various forms of cooperative living and sharing and handling the money and making it possible for people to survive joyfully rather than plugging in for 40 years on a job you don't like.
Right. Well, so yeah, I guess I'm not clear on what the work is that they are earning money at. Is it just within
the Twin Oaks has they make hammocks, and they've done this for many years. They have hammock crafting and tofu production. Yeah. And so that's one of their in-house domestic, labor things.
Positive.
People also work in the gardens.
So they're selling to the outside world and
They are.
bringing the money in. Oh, lovely.
Yes.
Well, there you go. So, communist, communal. What is it? Is it communist or
Well,
communal?
Intentional community.
Yeah. Well,
I
community.
wouldn't call
What-
that maybe whatever you want to
Same
call
root.
it. The C word.
Same root of the word, right?
Well, Colorado, how do you define it?
Define what they're doing?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted.
Income sharing, sustainable living. I mean, fulfilling the mandate of the 1948 United Nations Declaration of the Human Rights.
Yeah. Okay. Fabulous.
I think
I
they
mean, if
come
you
the
read that, it
cataclysm.
says, everybody should have the right to a standard of living that provides for their health and well-being, food, clothing, shelter, medical care,
Yeah.
social services. It's written, you can look it up in Wikipedia, 1948 United Nations Declaration, Universal Declarations of Human Rights.
Yeah.
So people are actually working towards fulfilling.
Living that way. Fabulous.
Yay!
Yippee.
So this is what encourages you. It sounds encouraging.
Well, so are there plans here in West Marin to set up these kind of businesses that will sell things to tourists? There's a big audience for stuff we might make, and then pool the income that's generated from that.
What a good idea.
What a good idea. If only land values would support something that would allow that, or the county would allow co-housing or
Really.
development of,
Meanwhile,
we're not allowed to build little clusters. So.
Oh,
What would give me more hope is if somebody would step forward and give me a place where I could put a yurt so I could stay in West Marin, because currently I'm priced out of housing and getting a little bit discouraged after, several years of being unable to find a decent place to live. And I concluded that a yurt, I could afford to build a yurt, but I need a place for it.
Okay, Martine needs a place for her yurt.
Yes.
You
Thank
heard it
you.
here.
Over and out.
Thank
you so much,
Martine.
Thanks for the
Martine.
call.
Well, there you are, encouraging news. See?
So, our yurt offer hotline, 663-8492. Call in if you have space for a yurt. I don't want to do this to you, Stephen, but I do want to do this. Stephen has space for a yurt.
Stephen got space. I have Martine's email, so
I was
yes,
thinking
any
about
calls
that when
come
she
in.
said it.
Maybe you need a yurt up there.
Excellent. I think it would look lovely in that field out there.
It might be.
Yes. With the sheep bleating around her.
Hooking into the septic is the big issue.
Oh, yes.
Is there bathrooms in yurts?
Can be.
Presumably.
Something.
Depends how big
Well,
the yurt
maybe
is.
a common bathroom, showers.
Yeah. Well, we'd better not talk about it because
Well, we used to we lived in Mendocino that way for years. Friends, and I'd go visit them. They had they had what they called the big house, which was the kitchen and dining area, showers, etc. Everybody had their little cabin they built out in the woods.
That's how Mill Valley got started, and of course they have more lax. They have the K amendment up there. I think
The Class K
or something.
Class K building permits. Which,
Right.
Those only existed for a few years in the 70s. Invention of our local neighbor Sim Vanderen, but they still exist in some form, but not the way that they did then. When he made them, we got them passed. He was allowed to issue them from his office in the state capitol, and he said that the hippies descended upon the Capitol to get their permits. It was for building in the coastal zone without having to follow the rules about water and septic, about being able to use materials that are there on site, blah, 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 not having to do all of the rules about cement driveways, whatever it was. Sam, you can call in, 663-8492, and tell us the real story. But so all these, his secretary comes in his office and said, Sim, your friends are here, but tell them they have to wear their shoes in the Capitol. And so he went to the store and bought 50 pairs of flip-flops and just went down the line and handed them out. And so the hippies would put the flip-flops on, go to the Capitol, get the permit. When they'd come out, they'd take the flip-flops off and give them to the last person in line who didn't have shoes as well. Yeah. So a lot of those communities around Willits.
That's a great story.
It is a great story.
If it's true, that's a great story.
He claims that he doesn't remember that. He told
Even
me
if
that.
it isn't true.
I guess. Never let the truth stand in the way of a good story.
But that's very heartening. Thank you, Martine, for that heartening tale of communes that actually continued.
But that was when, as you pointed
decades.
out, that was when land was cheap.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject, but for me, I don't think I'm going to try and change anyone's mind this year. I just want to get the people who already agree with me to become more active and to understand the trouble we're in. I'm not going to change any minds.
But do you meet people that really think that radically differently from the way you do? I never.
Yeah, a few people. Well, no, I'm not
One or
hanging
two?
out. I know a number of people.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, like I said, I meet the odd Trump supporter out here and stuff like that. I meet anti-Semites. I meet racists. I mean, you meet. They live among us.
Yeah. So a little recap of news. Where are we? Oh, 11:23. It's 11:23. It's 415-663-8492 to call in. You'll hear a little buzzy noise as I put you in the system. Just hang on till I say you're on the air. Give us your name, turn your radio down, and please keep the language clean. For example, today, the left-wing surge. Oh, we already talked about Jeremy Corbyn. Bernie Sanders sickened to learn the Alexandria shooter once volunteered for his campaign. Oh, lefties with guns. Lefties with semi-automatics.
Oh,
look out.
They slapped Sanders' name on that guy immediately. That's...
Conservative and two liberals swapped news feeds. They tried to do it for a month, I think. The conservative guy lasted for 5 hours or something. Couldn't stand listening to him. Well, the couple that they chose, they're both from. They might have been from Michigan, actually.
Oh.
The lefty couple that whoever it was chose this for an experiment. She was reading Jezebel magazine, the ultra-feminist magazine, and listening. They both listened to NPR, and he couldn't listen to NPR. He thought it was just they were just distorting all the facts. And Jezebel, of course, he said, it just makes me want to go kill somebody. He actually said it makes me want to go and kill somebody.
Jezebel's an online magazine. It doesn't have a print.
And the lefty couple listened exclusively. They turned off NPR and they listened exclusively and read exclusively, like the Drudge Report and the radio station that he listened to, AM Talk Radio, which was all Hannity and Limbaugh and the usual cast of characters, and they were so disheartened by it. They gritted their teeth and carried
Hannity
on.
makes.
But this is the big divide. I mean, if it's like KWMR. We're broadcasting to the programmers and to lots of wonderful people in West Marin. But are we reaching the? For example, the ranchers, or for example, I don't know.
I don't really see there being a lot of interaction.
Is NPR? Where does NPR reach?
But you're typecasting the ranchers, quote unquote.
No. Well, I've just done an example. Typecasting. No, I mean the more, let's say, the more conservative branch of West Marin.
Well, I just think life out here is just really ultra-private. I mean, people get together for parties. My new favorite is there was a fundraiser party for a party. That's pretty good. So you have a lot of fundraisers, you have a lot of parties, but I don't see a lot of critical discussion and things like that. I don't see people getting, I'm like too left wing and out there for like Richard Kirschman. He started to avoid me at the station house now, I think.
Well, you can discuss this as long as it leads to some kind of action, even if it's the smallest thing. There has to be some resistance. And I find it extremely interesting that these guys can get in the congressman or whatever, and they can go, after it all, they can go have beer together in a local pub. They can be friends. One guy's voting to take health care from 23 million people, and then, hey, let's go have a drink. How does that happen?
Well, that's, Leo Panich and a guy called Robert Michel's, over 100 years ago now, have written books on this. And there's an old joke, see if I can remember it well, that there's less in common between a radical and a radical member of the French Assembly than there is between two members of the French Assembly from opposing parties, right? They get into their little D.C. bubble, like we're in our little West Marin bubble, and we're all basically buds. We're not, but it's a kind of class thing, I think, ultimately. Yeah, and they are chummy with it. But when they get on camera, they play it up, and they say, I hate that one so much, and I hate this one so much. I think probably some of those people do genuinely dislike each other, but I think they're probably pretty chummy.
They're all collegial, aren't they? I mean, they're all shaking hands and they're all sharing they go to the same restaurants and clubs. Speaking of news, here's the latest Point Reyes light. Moonrise Kingdom has been okayed. The mansion on top of Inverness Ridge.
Up on Vision Road there. Yeah. Well, somebody has an opinion on this. 663-8492. What do you think about the very large cluster of buildings, something like 8,500 square feet in total, that are going to be built?
6-1 vote at the County Planning Commission.
Who is the one against?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
We'll have to see. But,
are we talking 9 bedrooms?
It's a whole compound.
It's huge. Well, it always was a compound. It
right.
was Cecil and Howard up there.
Okay.
It's their place, yeah, with that fabulous sort of free-form house that they built. It's going to be up there, and they're going to put in this big thing. They had a opinion piece in the paper last week about how they're going to preserve the buildings that are there. So, anyway, yes, if you have a feeling about this, 415-663-8492, and this is KWMR. 90.5 Point Reyes Station, 89.9 Molinos, 92.3 in San Geronimo Valley, and streaming KWMR.org and cablecasting on Horizon Channel 47, reaching everyone within our reach and around the world. And we would like to thank the Palace Market. Programming on KWMR is underwritten by the Palace Market in downtown Point Reyes Station, offering produce, cheeses, wines, a full deli and meat department, and an assortment of natural health foods and supplements. The Palace Market. And KWMR is supported by Energy Upgrade, California's home upgrade program, sponsored by the County of Marin, helping homeowners make energy efficiency upgrades to their homes to save money and the environment, and improve home comfort. One-on-one support available by calling a home upgrade advisor at 866-878-6008 or by visiting marincounty.org/energy upgrade. Thank you to our underwriters. Speaking of energy upgrades, I saw a little thing this morning in which somebody's invented, or they're working on, a paint that converts moisture into hydrogen. Here we go. Researchers are developing a solar paint that turns water vapor into hydrogen, so it can be used anywhere there's water vapor in the air, even in dry climates that are next to oceans, like Qatar, somewhere over there.
Oh, Qatar, yeah.
It produces this paint, which, they say this is going to save the environment, but of course the paint contains a new silica gel-like compound, synthetic molybdenum sulfide, so it makes you wonder.
Yeah, right. Is it
what are the production?
The cure worsen the disease.
Titanium oxide. Titanium. Who mines titanium? And where are we mining it? And what are the conditions?
Well, this is just
saving the world.
Anyway,
we just do Star Trek, plus misanthropy.
Somebody's actually researching this in Melbourne, Australia. Yes, wonderful. Melbourne, MIT.
I'd like to get back to West Marin. I was thinking the other day about these waves of changes. When I first moved here, it was the quote-unquote the hippies, the counterculture people.
Right.
And you were talking about the ranchers. We were shocking to them.
Of course.
This whole wave of people who were it was really about ranchers. But what we brought here was a community. We established a community. The Dance Palace is probably one of the clearest examples of creating community. So I think we're having another wave of change that's coming in right now, and the wave is visitor serving. Right. Essentially, the wave is not about local community. It's about bringing things in from the outside community.
Well, that's how I say tax it. if you want to do something. You
and
need
keep
money.
as long as it stays within this area, as long as the tax is collected.
That's right. That minus the administrative cost of the county, it's remitted back to the local communities themselves. And because here's the problem. If you don't do it that way, then everything has to be rich person funded, and then it has to be something that will please them. And they tend to be rather flimsy, flaky types of people. And they,
so flaky. They're just interested in their own lives.
Well, personal aggrandizement or whatever.
But no. I mean,
the
why would
stereotypes
they be worried about
poor
other
people? No, they wouldn't.
The stereotypes here, it's like...
Oh, you can...
If you'd like to call in, the stereotype hotline is 415-663-8492. From me? Good
Yeah, I
heavens.
expect more.
Well, oh dear. Well, no, I mean but that's a problem. There are two waves of capital that define West Marin. It's not nature, and it's not beauty, and it's not love. It's industrial capital and the fortunes that came out of that, which is the reason a lot of these houses are owned, and the people that live in them have passive income to survive on. And then financial capital, which is really the second wave, which is more desperate. It's a younger group, still older than I am, that are able, because of the huge loans that banks will make to buy houses, are also able to, in some way, purchase a house, and maybe they have to Airbnb
because
it.
of the tech boom.
Or something like that, right? So you're not looking at little villages. When you look at these places, I know it looks cute, but it's basically two phases of the development of capitalism over the last 150 years, and mostly the ancestors of people that really did awful things to get a lot of money. And so there's a kind of sickness that weighs on this place, too.
This has always been a playground for them.
Yeah,
apart
sure.
from the agriculture, again, we're back to agriculture here, but apart from the agricultural businesses that have always been here since white folks turned up, it's always been a playground here.
Sure, and you have to remember the people that the boomers and the bloomers, even the older generation. A lot of them came here in the defeat of their political dreams in the 1960s. This was, we're getting away from it, we're getting out of it, no more politics. Politics is corrupt.
Kennedy assassination.
Right.
We're going to go run off someplace and hide. And so, and they did, and their lives have been really nice for the last 50 years, and the rest of the country hates them and voted for Donald Trump.
More local news.
More local news.
The West Marin Commons, the common where the little yellow house is, that used to be the Mow and Sow headquarters for a little while. The Commons are going to get rid of their picnic tables.
I'd heard rumor of this, because they don't want tourists eating there.
Well, they don't want the garbage build-up, I guess. That's been the problem. The trash cans nearby that were added are just overflowing because nobody's going to check. So that's part of it. They're going to check on the trash cans more often. They're negotiating a new lease. It's operating on a month-to-month basis. Right now, the lease is $850 a month.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Second.
The grounds have been useful in dozens of community events. Recently, complaints about overflowing trash cans and overcrowding by tourists have grown. So,
how about a local tax on non-recyclables? So if people are sitting at the benches, they've paid for it by buying their cake and cookies.
Well, that would be the idea
I'd be
of the
paying
tax.
for my cake and cookies. I'd be paying the tax when I take it home.
It's regressive. I agree with you, Steve. It is regressive, Stephen. It is regressive. But I think in this case,
it can be worked out.
How many times in a month do you dine at any of the restaurants in even in Marshall? Like a handful?
I don't dine at any in Marshall.
Exactly right. So I mean, you're not paying the sales tax if we did something like that, or a service tax in the case of a restaurant.
We have a caller. Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Tony's.
It's Amanda.
Oh,
Hey, Amanda.
Hey, guys. So this picnic table thing,
Yeah.
I'm conflicted about this. I mean, I get what they're trying to do, and I saw this report that was written up by the group that got together to work with this and submitted to Supervisor Radoni. But I don't know, before they had any of that, people would sit around that dying tree across the street. They'd be sitting in the driveway to the Palace Market. They'd
Right.
be sitting all over the place. So there's still going to be the same amount of people, possibly with the same amount of garbage,
Right.
and fewer places for locals to also sit if we
Good
wanted
points.
to sit there. So that's kind of my thing. It's like, well, what if I want to go over there
Right.
during the week and it's like everything's full? Then I just walk away.
Go to the bakery or somewhere and get.
Then I have to come back to here.
You have to go back home instead of sitting in the park.
It's a nice little spot. So I was wondering, and I don't know if anybody's listening who is working with this group, if there's where they're taking the tables and if there will be the ability to bring them back if a mid-course correction is necessary. That's what I'm wondering.
Or are they going to set up a secret picnic area with the tables for locals?
Great, and we have to have a special local password to get in there.
How about in the Peace Garden?
Maybe a beer garden.
How do I find a local? Who's a local?
Who's a local?
If you come here for 3 days on the weekend, is that local?
No.
If you're
4 days?
descendant of a Miwok, I think.
That's right.
You could go there.
We're taking all of the picnic tables over to Merrill Rocca's house in Marshall, California. He's right there on the road. You can stop and have the picnic there.
And if you are a grizzly bear, you are welcome to visit those tables.
And
with the buildup of trash, there may be grizzly bears. We don't know.
Someone else to call in and talk about this because I think this picnic table thing is an interesting thing. My first reaction was, I won't even say it on the air because you'll have to fill out a form.
Well, Mark Switzer,
I've been there.
Mark Switzer, he's involved in this. He's quoted in the article as well. Who else involved? Elizabeth Barnett. She was involved with West Marin Commons back in the day. I don't know if she still does anything with West Marin Commons, but
Randall Fleming, chair of the Village Association.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
I heard you hung up, but so 663-8492. Call in if you have something to say about picnic tables.
Yes, Mr. Switzer said 5 picnic tables will be removed from the property for a period of time. Trash on the site will be monitored daily, and new signage will inform visitors of other picnic facilities in the area.
Well, there's this stuff
where
over
would
at
that
Tomales Bay Foods. Their tables back there now.
True, but they wouldn't necessarily want people coming with stuff from the bovine or from the palace and eating at their
Well, it seems to me that the
tables, would
primary
they?
beneficiaries of the tourists are the local businesses.
Sure.
And it would be in their interest to come up with some kind of a program where they donate, they contribute to cleaning up the place, keeping it.
Sure.
Well,
no,
Point Reyes Village Association, isn't that?
Well,
or the Chamber of
businesses.
Commerce.
Well.
you know.
Well, they're going to do that, apparently. They're going to monitor, anyway. I guess they're going to pick it up. There's even a letter about the Green Bridge replacement is not needed. There you go. Yes, give us a call, 415-663-8492. It's all about the news and what's been happening basically this year. Oh, Standing Rock. Court has finds that approval of Dakota Access Pipeline violated the law. A federal judge. Standing Rock Sioux Tribe won a significant victory today in its fight to protect the tribe's drinking water and ancestral lands from the Dakota Access Pipeline. A federal judge ruled that the federal permits authorizing the pipeline to cross the Missouri River, which were hastily issued by the Trump administration just days after the inauguration, violated the law in certain critical respects. There you go. They did not adequately consider the impacts of an oil spill on fishing rights, hunting rights, or environmental justice, or the degree to which the pipeline's effects are likely to be highly controversial. There you go. Raven Gray, call in 663-8492. Let us know how you're feeling about this. This is a good day for you, I would have thought.
And
after
can
all
we
your involvement?
Maybe that's what we can do with the picnic tables. As part of our gift economy with the Sioux, we can take them. Well, anybody drive the picnic tables to North Dakota? The call 663-8492.
Sure, if the Village Association pays for the gas, I'll go.
How about that? All right. We have a fundraiser on. This is what you love best, West Marin. It's a fundraiser now. 663-8492. Send Paul Raffel to North Dakota with 5 picnic tables.
Let's see. Another great news story. Viscose, touted as a sustainable alternative to cotton or polyester, often used as a cheaper alternative to silk, is causing severe environmental damage in China, India, and Indonesia, which is where all our clothes are made now. So there you go.
Well, an example.
More good news.
Synthetics. Wonderful, wonderful synthetics.
Well, we not only did we export the jobs, but we exported the pollution.
Sure.
So
Larry Summers famously, although he said he was joking, said that the third world represented opportunity because it was significantly underpolluted.
Underpolluted, exactly.
And, they do things like ship trash from the United States to be burned in Indonesian incinerators and generate electricity. I don't know what they're doing with it, but it's fairly insane. But that's, again, why you have to see your life is tied into financial markets. You have to see your life is tied into an American history in which this way of living developed. And that history is actually empowering. It really isn't, I think ultimately it really isn't depressing. It really actually it gives you a framework and a story that you can start thinking about, well, how do we do it differently? Right. What else should we do?
Yeah.
What else is possible?
Meanwhile, the global seed vault, you probably know about this.
Up in Spitsbergen?
Up in Spitsbergen.
Longyearbyen?
Flooded because of global warming. The ice has been melting. It didn't flood into the seed vault, but it did flood down into the entrance passage, which sloped down. So all the water ended up against the vault door, and of course, if it freezes again up there, there'll be this huge, they're calling it an iceberg, that will not allow anyone to get to the seed to play with. Anyway, so they're about to, they've committed, the Norwegian government has committed $4.5 million to improvements, which involve upward sloping ramp instead of a downward sloping ramp. So that's bad news and good news. The good news is that it didn't get to the seeds, and the good news is that they're going to do something about it. Bad news is, of course, that the ice is melting, but, I guess it's deep enough that it's still in the deep permafrost layer, which maybe will never go away. Who knows? I don't know.
Happy news. Here on KWMR Point Reyes Station, call us 663-8492. Amanda Eichstadt wants you to call in with opinions about West Marin Commons. What do you think?
West Marin Commons, yeah, they're taking away the picnic tables because they encourage littering, and nobody had worked out how to empty the litter bins. I guess it would take money, of course. What else? Eat, drink, be generous, drive sober. NOAA has pulled a rule that would limit swordfish bycatch. That doesn't sound good. So, they're catching swordfish industry with gill nets. Are you kidding me? Good Lord. Moonrise Kingdom also is a local issue. Moonrise Kingdom has its permits approved. So give us a call, 415-663-8492.
Paul, I've got to change the format for next week's show. I don't have a cell phone, so I remember lots of people's phone numbers, like we all did 20 years ago.
We'll call them.
We're going to call them. That's it. That's the new plan. Next week.
I find it amazing. Neither of you have a cell phone. How do you exist?
I have an old flip phone. I don't have a
He just says that
it's not
so that
smart.
He wants it to look cool for the ladies.
Oh, yeah.
There aren't even. How do you make calls?
What's that?
How do you communicate?
Well, it's a landline. It's an old party line.
Landline, and he actually visits people.
Yeah, I
That's what he spends most of his days doing, is visiting people.
Because
in Marshall.
we all
I feel
need
so
gossip.
vulnerable if I don't have my phone.
But you got to get rid of it. Give it the boot. Because it's like this. Look at this computer. I'm looking at it all the time. I should stop doing that.
There's a new art exhibit a photographer did of people as if they were looking at their phones, except there are no phones in their hands. But I saw there's this, and it's in black and white, so it looks sort of apocalyptic, and they're all sitting at the table like this, or, at the dinner table.
Wonderful.
Everyone's doing that.
That's wonderful.
It's a great idea, I thought.
So get out and walk. That's simple. Go see your neighbors.
Exactly.
Well, that brings up a good point, though.
What's that?
Is art today intellectual, or is it intuitive?
It's such a broad question. You did this when we were outside of the studio earlier. It's an insanely broad question. So, is art today good or bad?
Why is it either or?
Right. I mean, but what would you mean by each one of those terms?
They're both good. I just wondered whether the weight of whether it's the scale is tipping in one direction or another. I'm just thinking about what you're talking about. Everybody looking at the cell phone as art, and
David Hockney makes little drawings on it.
It depends on our thinking, not what we're seeing.
Well, I'd say
Oh, I
technology is the thing through which you understand what's real and what's not. And so the paranoia that people have in not having the phone is because that's their connection to the world. It's often their romantic life. It's often, it's their ability to speak. It's I mean, it's kind of terrifying. But you become dependent on the technology. So we like to think about technology as, amplification or increasing our own power and things like that. It's actually, I mean, obviously dependence has become a huge problem with it. But speaking of Art Russell Chatham's gallery, he tells me, is supposed to open in Point Reyes here.
Oh.
I don't know, later in the month. The latest word on Tony's is mid to late July. And I've been taking swag from Tony's because they're cleaning the place out, and those are going to be, I think, for the next fundraiser, our gifts. Beat up
Swag, eh?
beat up colander, original Tony's beat up colander. That is a donation of $100.
They're changing their calendars? Damn it,
They're
this has got to stop.
Well, I'm going to go over. There's also a Bob Evans free table going on right now too. So we're going to have maybe some Bob
collection
Evans
of pipes.
collection of pipes. Do you want an original Bob Evans pipe? So we'll have some interesting prizes for this next fundraiser. I think.
415-663-8492. How is the news affecting you? What's the big story of this week for you? How's that? Let's just narrow it down to that. The Commons are losing the tables, and Moonrise Kingdom has been okayed. There's the Sea Smart report. The Sea Level Marine Adaptation Response Team is drafting plans for dealing with sea level rise.
Just the name of it, though, I can see like Sally Phillips doing a kind of Thunderbirds version of the Marines. What is the name of the team again?
Sea Smart.
But the full name was.
The full name. The Community Sea Level Marine Adaptation Response Team. You think they created the name to make a proper...
No, they're marionettes. Look, Sally, if you're listening, get on this. I need the county's Rapid Action Fast Sea Response Team.
XL5. We'll just call it XL5.
XL5 and their supersonic jet and all of their gadgets. If you could help us make this into a Thunderbird-style television program.
It's a Super Marionation in jokes.
Super Marionation. That's what it's called. Super Marionation of county government.
I like that word.
Super Marionation?
Yeah.
Hey.
Never heard it before.
Oh, go Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds are go.
I'm not involved in that relationship,
yes.
so I can say no. Thunderbirds are no.
I was brought up on Jerry Anderson and his Super Marionation, like Four Feather Falls, where the hero had guns that he didn't have to take out of his holsters. They just rotated on his hips. He didn't even have to touch them.
What a bizarre dreams that gave children. Okay, your opinions on Super Marionation here at KWMR 663-8492.
So, what is this about Sea Smart? So they're going to have a meeting, aren't they? They're going to have a public deal. And I've forgotten when it is.
Well, we've got ESPG tonight, so all residents of Marshall turn up for that. I'm still sort of lost in this. I go around. I asked John Finger about it yesterday. I asked this one, I asked that one. I'm still trying to piece together what any of this stuff means.
It sounds like they're being responsive to especially to Marshall's concerns about not being allowed to raise houses or make defenses against sea level rise or whatever we can do to survive it there. But
it was pretty
with the
broad,
Coastal Commission. The Coastal Commission still really doesn't want us there in Marshall. So.
It's a real possibility. I mean, as far as I can understand, that is a real possibility that if the Coastal Commission gets what it wants, visit Stinson and Marshall today is all I'm saying. That it's a possibility that one by one those buildings could ultimately
go away at their owner's expense.
At their owner's expense.
Ironic, though, all of a sudden people are lobbying for the maintenance of overnight visitor serving facilities. It's like lobbying for the having a hotel.
Yeah. Well,
the visitor serving facilities will be allowed probably to do anything, but residential.
So I worry about that. Yeah, I worry about when I talk to the guys at Hog Island, like how they don't seem as concerned as the homeowners. I'm like,
next door.
Maybe they know something that we don't. But yeah, I mean, there's a vision going back at least to Phil Burton, if not much further back than that, which is all of coastal California should be a park. And since there's no hope of them getting their way in Newport Beach, they may have set their sights on Golden Gate North.
Yeah.
And the whole coastal zone will just be this giant park. So there you go. You got me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good for real estate values as long as you're not.
If you can keep the house, right? Yeah. If you're not one that's going to get torn down,
pick it up and put it somewhere else. Sure.
Well, you need, and this is a Noah's not enough kind of issue. Not to endorse Naomi Klein too much. I find her a little grating after a while. The is that like we should be on this. Anybody who intends to stay here for the next 10 years should be working now to begin this process that ultimately these communities municipalize in some form. Mm-hmm. And you could do cool things with municipalization. You couldn't do this on Highway 1, but you could put toll booths on Sir Francis Drake. You could charge people to get in and out of Inverness. You could charge people on the Marshall Petaluma Road. And, be a part of a budget for maintaining our own roads and be part of a budget for, trying to take these communities in the direction that we might like to do. So,
when they put in the new bridge, if they put in the new green bridge, I don't know. Do we need it? Engineers apparently say that we need one, but the Inverness residents aren't necessarily keen about it.
Well, I've been for blowing up that bridge for many years. Cut Inverness off.
Make it a toll bridge.
Oh, it's the state highway, but you could put on the county roads. There would be a mechanism for doing toll roads. So there you go.
Excellent.
They do that like in rural
Marshall Petaluma.
People that live in the little town, they have like a book of little tickets, and they give it to you can employ somebody right at the little toll booth.
Could I charge for people who are slowing down and stopping to look at the sheep?
We could put a toll booth there, maybe, and a little turnout, a $5 picture with Stephen Hurwitz and sheep.
You could get a grant for that.
And the yurt. Maybe. And the yurt, the sheep and the yurt. You can do these kinds of things, but again, we're very private people. We're very short-sighted people. We're not thinking about, this kind of long-term planning. But we should be. I'm sure there are some people out there doing it. I still sort of try and bother some of the local business people and say, hey, do this or do that. I may be the wrong spokesperson for this particular. They may read my things in the light. So,
here's some good news. Good news, maybe encouraging. Historic negotiations to ban nuclear weapons resume at United Nations today.
Lovely.
Will the treaty leave loopholes? Oh, no, do you think? Today, most of the world's countries have gathered again to complete negotiations of a treaty that will ban the possession and use of nuclear weapons.
Well, think about how nuclear paranoia has affected our culture. The dark side of contemporary American life, in the sense that the argument always was you could never give up our nuclear weapons because our opponents are hostile to us and they won't negotiate honestly, right? But this is the world, and I think it's trickled down into our lives as individuals. Basically, you live in a hostile environment where you could never trust the other. You could never have peace. That's just not possible. So a heightened state of sort of tension and competition is always, I think, what's kind of being encouraged by this. And the dream, like the dream of a nuclear-free world, is always, considered unserious and impossible and poo-pooed. And,
I always thought it was about self-interest. You have this mad, mutually
assured destruction.
It's like, as long as we can destroy you, you're not going to destroy us.
Maybe.
Well, that was what was called the delicate balance of terror. But when I look around at why we live in such a lonely and isolated society, I think has that idea of a delicate balance of terror come to redefine our interactions with other people? Do we do that?
Well, except in communities that Martine was kind enough to let us know about at the beginning of the show. These wonderful intentional communities all over the world who are, sowing seeds of accord and of self-sustainability.
Well, the Amish have been one of the most successful.
There you go.
Successful.
There you go.
Yeah.
They've lasted a long time.
They don't have cell phones. Or do they?
Or do they? Well, who knows? If you're Amish, call us on your cell phone, 663-8492.
Apparently they have radios, if that's the case.
Well, very naughty. Would a hand crank radio, would that be allowed?
Interesting.
I wanted to say that's
speaking of contemporary, on one hand, I'm terrified of what Trump and his ilk are doing. On the other, there's a certain glee when I see that he's being investigated for, so I've got mixed. I enjoy It wouldn't be if he wasn't there.
Schadenfreude.
Well, if he wasn't there, the vast majority of these people would say we need to resist, we need to do a group, and we're going to action. They would not be doing any of this. So there's that.
That's good.
Still
yeah.
not doing any of that.
Well, no, there's still local groups.
Locally, right? Indivisible, the Action Network here.
Yes,
There we
that's
go.
true.
From National Stop Trump Care Call-In Day. So that was today, I think. Yeah. Oh, yesterday. Call in. All these.
Is that where all our callers are at?
All these guys,
you go.
all over the country, call them and say, "Stop this." That kind of thing's happening. It's still an efficient way of getting your opinions out there, is to actually call their offices, the senators and
I think
congressmen.
boycott is going to be the most effective way to affect things, because
Boycott
when
Trump?
the corporate world, if you stop buying their products, they will capitulate, because they exist on selling you something, either a service or something as goods.
Okay.
If you don't, look at
I've got
just,
Boycott Apple.
No, this is my new plan. I announced
Apple's
it.
not the problem.
The local groups.
Ask
They're not
ask the
donating.
miners in.
They're not donating money to the
China.
radical right.
Oh, well, but I mean, look, let's pick another one. My favorite, and Bing Gong did not pick this up, but the idea is still there for you, Bing. Nobody gets on a plane in West Marin for a whole year. And all that money that you would have spent on your multiple vacations goes into our resistance fund. And but then
That's a terrific idea.
in 2018, you can go back to Mexico if you want, or Kuala Lumpur.
I thought you were going
wherever.
to say we can go back to flying.
Well, that's what I mean. You can go back to your destructive, self-indulgent, hideous behaviors. But for 1 year, nobody flies, and then that'll be a protest, and all that money that's saved we can use to all of the good causes that need to happen here. I would submit that people use travel like that as a way to manage their personalities, and so it's very unlikely that anyone will do that, because they'd have a psychotic break with reality.
We gotta go.
Tomorrow, Professor Ivan Asher on the local Organon, and also actor Jeff Hoyle was coming to do dramatic readings of Orwell and more.
Good heavens.
By the way, you've had your psychotic break with reality.
That happened ages ago.
You're
What are
going
you
to have
talking?
to tell us about it.
I will do.
Some of the time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening. Thank you both, Stephen and Charles.